In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace the front upper control arms on this GMC Sierra. These are going to be located behind the front wheels. Let's get into it. Now we're going to take off the wheel. Use a 22mm socket to take the lug nuts off. Remove the wheel. Now take this bracket off. Use a 10mm socket. Take this bolt out. Take the bracket off. Set that to the side. We're going to loosen up this nut. Use a ratchet wrench, 18mm. I'm just going to loosen this up. I'm not going to take it off completely. Just want to get it down. There's only a few threads holding it on. It's loose enough that you can loosen it with your fingers. I'm using a pickle fork to separate the upper ball joint from the knuckle. Just give it a tap with a hammer. There we go, it's separated. I'm using a pry bar. I'm just going to pry the arm down, then we can take the nut off. There's the nut. And make sure you just put your hand on the rotor just so it doesn't come out too far and hit you in the face or something. And separate the control arm. Before we take the bolts out for the arm, we're just going to take a socket and just measure right here, because when we go back together, we want this arm in the same location. And for us, an 11mm socket is going to work. So double check yours before you take that out. Take a 21mm wrench. I'm going to go on the bolt, and 21mm socket on the nut. Loosen this up. There we go. Take that nut off. We're going to take this washer off right here. Just use a pry bar. Just pry that out a little bit. Pull that off. And I'm just going to tap this out. Just use a hammer. There's another washer, a cam washer on this side. Use a pry bar to get that out as well. If you need to, you can pry on the spring, or they have to pry the spring down, or pry it up to get the bolt out, but you don't have to take it out. There you go, separate those two pieces. Now we're going to do the same on the other side. 21mm wrench on the bolt. 21mm socket. Just move the brake line out of the way. Just make sure there's no tension on the brake line either. And loosen this up. Take that out. See, the arm's going to be loose now. Just going to fall and pry this cam washer off. Take the bolt out. Just give it a tap with a hammer. Pull the bolt out with that washer. Grab the arm. And you can just pull it out. If you need to, use a pry bar. Take the new arm, get this lined up. Just push it in place. If you need to, you can use a rubber mallet. I'll take the bolt. and the washer, get that lined up. Just move the arm so that you can get the bolt through. You can use the pry bar if you need to. These cams still have the nylon adjusters, or somewhat, they used to call these knockouts, so that we can line that up with the pin. If you did not have these on there, it'd be a good idea to mark these, or you can kind of see on the frame where it came off. Just get it as close as possible. It's just going to make the alignment better when you put it back together or closer. You're still going to need an alignment either way. Get that lined up. Put the nut on. And we'll tighten this down just slightly. We don't want it so tight that the arm doesn't move. That's good. The arm still moves. Now we'll get the front one lined up. Just give it a tap with a rubber mallet. Get that close. And we'll do the same. Take the bolt. I'll just use a pry bar. Get that in the rest of the way. And the same on this one. Get that pin lined up. Tap that in place. Slide that in. That looks good. Put the nut on. There we go. And we want to tighten that down. Just get it close. Now we want to take that socket that we used earlier, get the arm in the right location, and now we can really snug it down. Now we're going to torque that nut and bolt to 140 foot-pounds. That's good. And now you can move to the back one. There we go. Now we're going to put the ball joint in the knuckle. Just pry up if you need to with a pry bar. Get that lined up. That's good. Make sure the wires are out of the way. Now I'll just pry down. Take the nut and get the nut started. Now just prying down, I'm going to use the ratchet wrench to tighten this down. Oops. And if you can fit a torque wrench in there, you want to torque that to 37 foot-pounds and then an additional 90 degrees. It's not that easy to get a torque wrench in there. You want to make sure the hole lines up with the castle nut so that you can put a cotter pin in. If it doesn't line up, you want to tighten it a little bit more until it lines up. You never want to loosen it. Now take the cotter pin, I'm going to go through the other side so you can see it a little better. It's going to go through there. And we'll bend it down just like that. And then with the excess, you can just trim it with the side cutters. And we'll just tap this up. Or you can trim it. That works also. That's good. Take the bracket, get that lined up. Use the bolt, get that started. And tighten that down. Just snug that down. Now we have a grease fitting. Get that started. Use a 7mm socket or wrench and just snug that down. That's good. Now just take a grease gun and put a few pumps of grease in it. Sometimes you can see the boot move a little bit, just not too much, just a few. That's good. Wipe off any excess. Now put the wheel on. Get the lug nuts started. And snug these down. Now we're going to torque these lug nuts in a cross pattern to 140 foot-pounds. Just go around again, double check. That was a quick and easy job, and now you're good to go.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.